So when I say, that, okay, we will be utilizing or we will be using a parameter based pipeline, right? So now what happens, a lot of times, right? A lot of times what happens that you create a Jenkins pipeline. You wanted to create a pipeline or you wanted to create a Jenkins file, right? And that Jenkins file has nothing but that Jenkins file should contain some parameters. Okay, you wanted that Jenkins file should contain some parameters. Now when I say that it should contain some parameters, right, so that means what, that you should have some of the different parameters of the Jenkins, like Boolean parameter, right, like string parameter, like you have the another other type of the parameter jobs. So for example, if I go to this wiki. So when we see the parameter jobs in these things, right? So what happens that you have a different parameters. You can have a Boolean parameter, choice, field, file based parameter to upload a file, password based parameters, text and other things. Okay. So we follow this particular standard. Okay. Now we'll see this in the demonstration and two also. Okay. Okay. So we are going to talk about the parameterized pipelines, and parameterized pipelines are what? Which are those are something which you define when you require some parameters from user. It's like similar when you require the input from the user in your Java code, right? Or in your Python code. What do you do there? You write the input and then you write that enter the number. Likewise in Jenkins, there could be the requirement where you need a Python code, right? Where you need a parameter to be required or to be filled up by the user. Means you want some input variable from user. Okay. So in the case where you are expecting some input variable from the user, what do? You have to write the pipelines, and in your pipelines, you define a block, you define a section, of the parameters. So let's copy this here into our Visual Studio Code, right? And here let's create a new file. Let's say Jenkins file. Rather, I will create a new folder. Okay. Parameters. And I will create a Jenkins file inside this. So I can create or name this as a parameterized pipeline. Now within this, if we copy this section, as we saw that we know that pipeline already starts, with the pipeline things. And in a declarative based pipeline, you can use any agent or anything, agent and any. And now this is the important part, right? The parameter. So to have the parameterized pipelines, you do what? You basically write parameters, right? As a keyword, and then you define your parameter, that whether it is a Boolean parameter or whether it is the string parameter or the choice parameter. Example, you can say enter the value in the description as true or false. Now here you say run job. Okay, this is my parameter which will want that if you want to run the job. So let's in the description we can say if you want to run the job, enter the values. And now in this stage, what we're gonna do, let's say this stage we will write as a test stage. And here, right, in this test stage, we will say that params dot. So if we have to call the value of any parameter, what we will do, we will write params dot the parameter name. Okay. And here we'll say my parameter value. So this is basically the way you define a simple parameterized job. Now let's go to our Jenkins. Here, let's create a new item and let's create parameter pipeline. Let's click on pipeline based job because we want to go to pipeline. And at the end, here we can define, let's say, this pipeline and click on save. Now, the very first time when you run, you have to just build this job so that it takes the things, right? And while you build this job, it might fail, okay, because it is expecting parameter, but it, let's say like this did got passed here, but there should be, yeah. So because it just parsed your Jenkins file, okay, in the first time, it just synthetically checked the things. But now what is going to happen that it will look for the build with parameters. So when you go with build with parameters, as it was a Boolean parameter, it is asking, do you want to run this job or not, right? You will can choose and you can click on again the build job. This will do what? This will basically run this in a normal way. But what if, let's say, what if we add one more parameter, name as the string parameter, okay? Now you see in this we have given the default value as true only in this parameter, okay? It's not necessary that you always have to give. You can disable that also. So that's the reason you saw there as a checked item. But let's say that we give string, okay, name is equal to, name colon, and let's give the name as the username, okay, username. Now description. When it comes to description, we can give it as enter your username, okay. Nowadays AI has made the coding part easier, right? And if you want to give any default value, so again you can use default value, okay. But let's not give any default value for now. Let's just choose this name and we will separate this via the comma, okay. This is how I define the string parameter. This is my Boolean parameter and I've given the name, okay. Yeah, sorry, one thing we are missing here, which is a major thing actually, sorry, my bad, right? And that is that anytime you want to, the first thing is uh that anytime you want to run any kind of conditional script, right? So you put it under the script actually. So it has to go like this. Okay, under the script it will come all your if else logic. Okay. Now you see it has executed, right? What if I now you see the next time I'm getting this name, right? Enter my name, such and but I keep this as false. It should be okay, right? Because we have not put that condition. But what we're gonna do now, if params.run job is equal to false, right? Then we can say example, the job is selected as false, it's exiting, and you can put exit one. So again, it will fail now, right? Because we have said the job is selected as false and it will exit. Okay. So now this is how your parameters, you can take the values from the users and you can utilize those values in the params.username sections anywhere here. Okay.